A lot of people yesterday were saying it's a sad state of affairs that you've got to bring James Forrest on, and he's one of the closest ones that comes to scoring a goal yesterday. Celtic yesterday drew 0-0 with Hibernian at Easter Road, and we're going to talk about that in a minute because there's Celtic. John Paul Taylor put out a statement yesterday on Twitter. We'll talk about that in a second. But Callum McGregor says that Celtic were unlucky to not get the result after more late drama. He said, getting a point, it's no surprise, but they felt they were dominant. James Forrest clattered the crossbar coming off the bench, and when you've got James Forrest as being the one who's going to win you a goal, a lot of fans are kind of putting their head in their hands and saying, really, is that where the club is at? Callum McGregor says it's not all doom and gloom, but he insisted that they can retain the Premiership despite this slip-up. Callum Mack says, look, as far as he's concerned, he thinks that we can still win the league, but at least 25 minutes were probably unlucky not to win the game yesterday for the last 25 minutes. It's frustrating, it's disappointing in terms of the result. The result, said Callum McGregor. We hope to nick it at the end. We pushed to get something. Actually felt like the goal was coming. We had pinned Hibs back, and we had created some crossing situations. James Forrest hits the bar, and then that's it. I mean, we're waiting until the last minute of the game. But yesterday, we all thought that Celtic would get off to a fiery start, just like they did in Madrid. But even the manager said, they were a bit too comfortable with the passing at the first half of the game. We'll forget about that game. It's past now. We can't really talk about it anymore. It is what it is. We dropped 2 points. But the Celtic fans yesterday had a horrendous afternoon getting into the game. John Paul Taylor, the Celtic SLO fans liaison officer, put out a tweet yesterday after the game. Now, there was lots of pictures. I mean, I've been to Hibs many times away, and it's usually a fantastic game. You know, when you come over the bridge, you've got that bottleneck part that's going to get fans, but you don't expect it outside the ground. Yesterday, there was no less than 6 searches outside the ground of fans, 6 individual searches before you got to a turnstile. There was empty turnstiles that were closed that fans couldn't get into, and there was quite a big police presence. John Paul Taylor put out a statement, said, ahead of our post-match debrief, in order that we may raise with Hibernian and Police Scotland, can fans who encountered issues during the access phase at yesterday's game please provide details of your experience in writing. When you look at the first comment, Eddie Toner, who is part of the Celtic Trust, no offence, JP, but the main people don't email on a Monday after it. Where are the club personnel when this is going on? Surely our own security guys, and you've got to remember, Celtic do take own stewards to every away game. The stewards that are at Celtic Park on a weekly basis, they are also in attendance at every away game. So Celtic staff would have seen this going on at some point. Surely our own security guys, Eddie Toner says, must witness what's happening. Do they need feedback? Who's looking after our interest? This continues game after game. Next one that comes up is it's just today. It's every single game, but today was the worst, and it's only when something serious happens that something will get done about it. And then when you look at the pictures, I mean, the pictures, I've been to Hibs away before, and this is it's nothing new, but this yesterday was horrendous. The fact that there was 6 individual body searches before anyone got near the ground, and I will show you this picture. I mean, that's just, it's dangerous. Let's face it, if this was to happen in any other sport, congestion like that, it would it's dangerous. It is actually dangerous. When they talk about health and safety, there's an announcement before every game at Celtic Park that talks about, in the interest, this is a health and safety message. But when you see pictures like that from yesterday, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. You see how close the fans are all getting pushed together, and it's not safe. It is not safe. Anyway, let's get back to the sort of main issues. Andy Walker was also talking about a Celtic player yesterday, actually talking up a Celtic player, which is unusual for Andy Walker. He was talking about a player that says, it reminds him of Jota in his pomp. You know, the beautiful smile, the wee dancing move that all supporters love. He's got the potential to be a big personality player. Palma, if he can add some more goals to his game, he said, and more skill and trickery to get the fans off the edge of their seat, could be a fantastic player for Celtic. He said Lewis Palma's career has gotten off to a great start, 3 goals and 1 assist and 8 outings, and this 23-year-old is turning out to be a fan's favourite. So that is the man that usually slates Celtic, but obviously he's not on Sky anymore, so he's actually got a bit of a good thing to say about a Celtic player. Tell me what you think about Andy Walker and his comments about Lewis Palmer. Can Lewis Palmer going to be a Celtic great? Now, one bit of news that was kicking about yesterday is the fact that Brighton have set their sights on Celtic star Matt O'Reilly, and the Premier League club have been hugely impressed by Matt O'Reilly, who's only 22-year-old, and he's made some impact since joining Celtic from MK Dons in just January 2022. You remember Leeds did put in a £10 million offer for Matt O'Reilly, which was chucked out by Celtic, and Brighton are believed to be one of a number of Premier League clubs watching Matt O'Reilly closely. Brighton scouts have regularly watched the Fulham Academy player and assessed his potential as midfield options. Obviously, since coming out to Celtic, he now has a contract until 2027 that he's just signed recently. You know, he's turning into some player in midfield, and Celtic do not want to lose the player. They're absolutely adamant they don't want to lose him, and it's been suggested that Celtic have slapped a £25 million plus tag on the player, which, let's face it, is nothing to the likes of clubs down south. The midfielder has become a fan favourite at Celtic, and he's taken his game to a new level. So as far as I'm concerned, Brighton can make all the moves that they want. Celtic will not sell the player the next window, and I don't believe Celtic will sell him next summer either. It's not in Celtic's interest to sell the player in the next year or two. The fact that we have got him on that extended deal, players are going to have to come in with at least 30 million plus to get Celtic even twitching, and you know the board, they might just take an offer if it was to come in at 30 million plus. Now, when you look at the three Scottish players that came on yesterday afternoon as substitution, when Mikey Johnson, Turnbull, Jamesy Forrest, I mean, they're basically players from bygone times, some fans would say. But is it the amount of abuse that Mikey Johnson gets online? And he might not be the answer for Celtic, but when you look at it, I mean, I've seen some of the abuse that he was getting online yesterday. It's quite unbelievable. And because he's a Scottish Irish player, he gets some amount of abuse compared to what a foreign player would get. Now, I get it online, and you get told it's part and parcel of the job. But if somebody was to come into your workplace and start giving you dogs abuse, would you think that was acceptable? Mikey Johnson's performance yesterday wasn't the best, but like most Celtic supporters, we don't, let's be honest, we don't think Mikey Johnson's going to make it at Celtic. He's not a youngster anymore. He is 24-year-old. He lacks consistency to play for Celtic at the highest level. Brendan Rodgers seems to like him, suggests that if he can work his magic, he can be one of the best players who's ever rated. But let's face it, he's 24-year-old now. I don't think he's going to improve as a player. Criticism is fine. Criticism is fine of anybody, any players. But when people are taking to the likes of Twitter and social media to give the guy some really, really bad abuse, I don't think it's really necessary in this day and age. Keyboard warriors are everywhere, but never mind. Tell me what you think about the Celtic fans yesterday, and tell you what you think about John Paul Taylor putting out that statement which says, I'll read the statement again, ahead of our post-match debrief, in order that we may raise issues with Hibernian and Police Scotland, can fans who encountered the issues during the access phase of today's game please provide details of your experience in writing to John Paul Taylor so that he'll get them on Monday. One person has suggested that it was videos. Well, it used to be videoed about 10 years ago, this kind of action, and it was put on Twitter at the time. It is nothing new, but I did get a message sent to me yesterday that there was no less, there were 6 searches before people got onto the game. So tell me what you think about that in the comments. On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party.